Chapter 421. You have to be convinced. Zhang Xiaolong nodded seriously. This was true. In most cases, a black bear was indeed a beast that acted alone. Because of this, while the black bear was foraging, it accidentally encountered a hungry wolf pack, and then, in its panic, it fled into this village. Seeing Zhang Xiaolong nod, Lu Juanzhong felt even more certain that this was the case. Had it been anyone else agreeing, Lu Juanzhong wouldn't have been so sure. But Zhang Xiaolong was different. He was a veteran hunter with extremely rich hunting experience. Not only had he killed several wild boars, but he had also killed many wild wolves. So, since even Zhang Xiaolong was nodding, what was there left to doubt? The black bear was fleeing in front, and the wolf pack was chasing behind. The black bear was fuming from being chased, and just happened to encounter a few unlucky enemy agents in the thatched hut, so it slapped them to death. It clearly used the enemy agents as punching bags. Then, the black bear continued to flee toward the riverbank. Speaking to this point, Lu Juanzhong stopped, his face full of the look of a survivor. Xiaolong, you really don't know how much danger you were in just now. I was in danger. What danger? Suddenly having his shoulder patted by Lu Juanzhong, Zhang Xiaolong gave a slight start. He had just been immersed in the other man's peculiar logic. After a moment's thought, he felt that it seemed to make sense. What danger? It was definitely that big black bear from last night. I'm telling you, since the wolf pack appeared but didn't attack you, doesn't that mean the black bear is nearby? Oh, cough, cough. I really didn't think about the big black bear. Now that you mention it, I really did escape death. That's because you're blessed, and good people get rewarded. The black bear and the wolf pack were in a standoff, so they didn't have time to worry about you. Lu Juanzhong spoke with such conviction. It was as if he had seen it with his own eyes. At the very least, Lu Juanzhong himself certainly believed it. Lu Xiangdong also nodded thoughtfully, but he believed it about 90%, while the remaining 10% was doubt. The black bear appeared last night, and nearly 24 hours had passed. Was it still lingering near the village? Xiaolong, you're very lucky to have returned safely while surrounded by a wolf pack. If you had really encountered any danger, the consequences would be unthinkable. Thank you for your concern, Director Lu and Captain Lu, but haven't I returned safe and sound? Just as Zhang Xiaolong finished speaking, bursts of wolf howls came from the direction of the riverbank. Interspersed within them were intense roar growls, sounding very much like the sounds a black bear makes when it roars in anger. The expressions on the faces of Lu Xiangdong and the others changed drastically, and as they looked at Zhang Xiaolong's figure, they felt even more lingering fear. Good heavens, it really was too dangerous this time. Juanzhong actually guessed right. Listen to those wolf howls and bear roars. I'm certain it's definitely a standoff between the wolf pack and the bear. Wow, Xiaolong's luck is indeed good, capturing the enemy agent right in the middle of a wolf-bear standoff. This is definitely not something an ordinary person could do. Director Lu, Xiaolong is truly the lucky star of our bureau. Lu Juanzhong did not miss the opportunity to offer words of praise. Brother Lu is still the impressive one, to be able to guess such deeply hidden clues. Zhang Xiaolong praised him solemnly. In his heart, he was thinking, Brother Lu, oh Brother Lu, you manage to say something shocking every time. Ever since you said my goji berries were watered with tiger urine, your imaginative and wild way of thinking has started to gallop away on a path unreachable by ordinary people. It's a good thing you met me. Otherwise, who would cover for your holes? Didn't you see that there was still a trace of doubt between Director Lu's brows? Speaking of which, it's lucky I had the foresight not to recall my beast pets into the space. That way, they could cooperate and put on a show for Director Lu and the others. The great drama of the wolf pack fighting a tiger, the wolf pack fighting the black bear. Actually, the wolf pets' voices didn't need any acting. They just had to howl with all their might, and all 18 wolves were howling together. But the tiger had to suffer a bit. Although its voice and a black bear's had similarities, there were still many differences. This imitation of a black bear's voice was barely a passing grade, but at least it wouldn't be immediately recognized as a tiger. It's nothing, I just barely managed to deduce it based on the series of events that occurred. Lu Juanzhong was overjoyed. He hadn't expected to actually be right. This time, Lu Xiangdong believed it completely and also patted Lu Juanzhong's shoulder as a sign of encouragement. As for the tied-up enemy agent, he was so startled that he broke out in a cold sweat, grumbling in his heart. Damn it, why did I choose that crappy place by the riverbank? The most crucial thing was that I stood there with my hands behind my back, waiting leisurely for a long time. I was almost buried in a wolf's belly without even knowing it. And I actually exaggerated before, saying that those few pairs of wolf eyes were over 20 wolves. I even mocked these policemen for being so easy to fool. I didn't expect that they already knew there was a wolf pack, and even a big black bear. Damn it. In the end, the clown was me. After 10 minutes or so, the wolf howls and bear roars gradually stopped and could no longer be heard. Director Liu, the enemy agent liaison, has been caught. We need to hurry up and interrogate him to see if there are more clues. We can't miss this opportunity. Zhang Xiaolong suggested at the appropriate time. Xiaolong is right. We must immediately organize a crack team to conduct the interrogation. Director Liu, it's getting late, so I'll head out first. Xiaolong, aren't you staying to interrogate the case together? Zhu and Zhang, you and the criminal police team put in some hard work and interrogate the case properly. Let Xiaolong go back and get some rest. Okay, Director Liu. Xiaolong, be safe on the road. Watch out for the wolf pack and the black bear. Do you want me to send a few people to take you back? It's fine, Director Liu. The wolf pack and the black bear had a big fight. They should have left. After leaving the thatched house, Zhang Xiaolong did not go home. It was only 1:30 a.m. now, the perfect time to follow the enemy agent's scent and find his nest. The Anyang area was only about 70 li from Omping County town, which was dozens of li closer than the distance from Zhang Xiaolong's home to the county town. On the road at night, there wasn't a single flicker of light. It was cold, lonely, and very quiet. The only lights were those coming from the checkpoints he encountered. These temporarily established checkpoints were all used to intercept and capture the two fierce bandits who had escaped from the Beijing suburbs. Along the way, Zhang Xiaolong encountered at least 3 checkpoints, all of which he avoided one by one. The purpose of going to the Anyang area this time was to find clues about Eagle. Zhang Xiaolong didn't want any mishaps. His identity was that of a policeman, and the people in the checkpoints were also wearing police uniforms. A policeman from the Omping County Police Bureau heading toward the Anyang area alone in the middle of the night. This in itself was likely to arouse the suspicion of anyone with an agenda. Chapter 422. 3 agricultural machinery factories explode in succession. Especially at this critical moment, when the enemy agents were carrying out sabotage, Zhang Xiaolong felt it was better to be extra careful. It hadn't been long since the last incident involving the leaked codebook. No one knew who the mole hidden within the police bureau force really was. It was already 3 o'clock when he arrived in Anyang City. Normally, it wouldn't take Zhang Xiaolong this long to reach Anyang City. The delay was entirely due to having to avoid the checkpoints. Because the checkpoints were set up on almost every necessary route into Anyang City, avoiding inspection inevitably took some effort. Anyang City was a major city, much larger than Omping County town. Zhang Xiaolong only left Big Gray outside to lead the way, along with the owl cruising in the sky. The other beast pets were all recalled into the space. Big Gray sniffed the air, quickly moved forward, and soon stopped outside a single-story house. It looked at its master, then looked at the courtyard. Zhang Xiaolong knew they had arrived. This should be the residence of the captured enemy agent liaison. He patted Big Gray's head, walked to the door, pressed his ear against the wooden door, listened carefully for a moment, and heard nothing. Just then, a huge ball of fire, accompanied by a violent explosion, shattered the tranquility of the late night. The instant Zhang Xiaolong saw the firelight, he flashed back into the space, bringing Big Gray with him. The owl, meanwhile, perched on a tree and continued to monitor everything outside. What exactly was going on? The enemy agents were simultaneously planning 2 acts of sabotage. Zhang Xiaolong was deeply shocked. This eagle truly had grand plans. If he didn't move, fine, but when he did, it was a world-shattering case. He planned 2 bombing operations at once, one at the Omping County Agricultural Machinery Factory and the other in Anyang City. He didn't know the exact location of the explosion, but judging by the firelight and the sound of the explosion, he knew the enemy agent's operation had succeeded. Yet, there was no movement inside the single-story house. Zhang Xiaolong, inside the space, couldn't help but feel disappointed. Was the trail of the eagle about to go cold? No, I absolutely can't waste time waiting here. I must take the initiative. Didn't an explosion just happen outside? The enemy agents definitely haven't gotten far. If I rush over now, maybe I can still catch some clues. Thinking this, Zhang Xiaolong was about to flash out of the space. Just then, the door of the single-story house opened a crack. Zhang Xiaolong quickly abandoned that thought, staying on the second level of the space, watching a head poke out from the door. The person acted suspiciously, glancing left and right. Seeing nothing unusual, he opened the door a little wider, held something in both hands, and tossed it into the air. Flap, flap. Amidst the sound of beating wings, a dark shape flew into the sky. Good heavens, that's a homing pigeon. Zhang Xiaolong didn't have time to think further and quickly sent a mental message, telling his owl to follow the homing pigeon and see where it flew. Outside the space, the person in the single-story house looked up at the night sky. Seeing the homing pigeon fly high and far away, he revealed a smug smile, satisfied with his successful scheme, and casually closed the door. Silence fell upon the room once again. He failed to notice that an owl was hiding in the canopy of a large tree not far away. When he closed the door, the owl gently flapped its wings and went after the homing pigeon's trail. Zhang Xiaolong's mind moved again, and subsequently, 2 eagles shot out of the space and closely followed the owl. In the night, the firelight from the distant explosion illuminated half the sky with its fierce glow. The eagles quickly caught up with the owl. The 3 big creatures were much faster than the homing pigeon, and they overtook it in just a few minutes. They maintained a sufficient distance from the homing pigeon. Otherwise, scaring the homing pigeon would ruin their master's important plan. If that happened, they might end up becoming shish kebabs. After all, they had heard their master sing, "Roasted chicken wings, my favorite food." Although the master sang about roasted chicken wings, there was no guarantee he wouldn't change his taste and suddenly demand roasted eagle wings. The vast majority of people in Anyang City were awakened by the sudden, massive explosion. The sound was truly immense. It would take at least several hundred Jin of powerful explosives to create such a massive blast. The telephone of the Anyang Prefectural Committee rang immediately. Prefectural Party Secretary Ding Yongge didn't have time to put on his clothes and answered the phone immediately. "Hello. This is Secretary Ding Yongge. This is bad. This is bad, Secretary Ding." The call came from a comrade at the Prefectural Committee office. "Don't panic. What exactly is happening outside? Has there been an explosion somewhere?" "Secretary Ding, the Anyang Agricultural Machinery Factory has been bombed. The machinery in the factory and all the production equipment that was just manufactured have been completely destroyed." "What? The Anyang Agricultural Machinery Factory was just bombed like that? What is the security section doing? And the Anyang Police Bureau? What exactly is Li Weiman doing?" Prefectural Party Secretary Ding Yonggue was genuinely furious this time. The importance of the Anyang Agricultural Machinery Factory was obvious. It concerned the grand plan for agricultural production across the entire region. "You go and check again, see if that batch of water pumps, if they survived." Secretary Ding Yonggue hung up the phone. He dared not imagine the consequences if that batch of water pumps had been destroyed. They would be too severe. The lights in the Prefectural Committee office soon lit up one by one. Smoke billowed in Secretary Ding Yonggue's office, and the ashtray was full of cigarette butts. He lit another cigarette and continued smoking. Just now, he had received news that the batch of water pumps in the agricultural machinery factory had all been destroyed. Other items, such as the tractors, were also destroyed without exception. This time, the enemy agents were too well prepared and succeeded too easily, sending chills down his spine. There must be a traitor in the ranks, or rather, a constantly lurking enemy agent. Otherwise, how could the enemy agents have succeeded so easily? Moreover, choosing the agricultural machinery factory as the target of destruction, wouldn't that make agricultural production in Anyang Prefecture, already struggling against the drought, even worse? Ding-ling. The telephone on the desk rang again. Secretary Ding Yong exhaled a puff of smoke, picked up the phone, and listlessly said, "Hello. This is..." Before he could finish speaking, he was interrupted by the caller. "Secretary Ding, I have unfortunate news. The Jiangdong County Agricultural Machinery Factory has exploded." "What?" Secretary Ding Yongguei felt his head buzzing and didn't even realize when the phone call ended. He muttered to himself, the agricultural machinery factory in Jiangdong County was also bombed. Ding-ling. The phone rang once more. "Secretary Ding, the Fuan County Agricultural Machinery Factory has been bombed by enemy agents. The losses are severe." Secretary Ding Yongguei's buzzing mind felt like it was about to explode too. Chapter 423. Comrade Wang Ping, I envy you. There are a total of 4 agricultural machinery factories in the Anyang Prefecture. They are the Anyang Prefecture Agricultural Machinery Factory, Anping County Agricultural Machinery Factory, Jiangdong County Agricultural Machinery Factory, and Fuan County Agricultural Machinery Factory. Among these, the agricultural machinery factories in the Anyang Prefecture and Anping County are the largest in scale, and both are deputy department level units. The other 2 agricultural machinery factories are much smaller, employing fewer than 1,000 workers, and only producing simple agricultural machinery. With the existence of these 4 agricultural machinery factories, the machinery needed for agricultural production throughout the entire Anyang Prefecture was sufficiently guaranteed. Every year, units from other prefectures, cities, or counties would come to the Anyang Prefecture to purchase agricultural machinery. Now, 3 of the 4 agricultural machinery factories have been destroyed by enemy agents. Only the Anping County Agricultural Machinery Factory remains. This precious gem. Sweat streamed incessantly down Secretary Ding Yongguei's forehead. Had the Anyang Prefecture been infiltrated by enemy agents until it was like a sieve? But why was the Anping County Agricultural Machinery Factory completely undamaged? Yesterday, when Wang Ping from Anping County reported to me, he mentioned a young man from their police bureau who had cracked a case involving enemy agent sabotage. Could it be? The case he cracked was the potential operation for the enemy agents to bomb the agricultural machinery factories. Thinking this, Secretary Ding Yongguei quickly stubbed out the cigarette in his hand and picked up the phone. "Hello. This is Secretary Ding Yongguei. Please connect me to Comrade Wang Ping at the Anping County Committee." "Understood, Secretary Ding. Please wait." Soon, Wang Ping's voice came through the receiver. "Secretary Ding, this is Wang Ping." "Comrade Wang Ping, could you tell me about the case in your county yesterday in detail?" "Yes, Secretary Ding." Over the phone, Wang Ping recounted the entire sequence of events in detail. All this information was what he had heard reported by Liu Xiangdong. Wang Ping was now very thankful that he had specifically set aside time yesterday to listen to Liu Xiangdong's detailed report on the matter. Otherwise, what would he have reported to Secretary Ding today? "Comrade Wang Ping, I truly envy you." After listening to the report, Secretary Ding Yongguei hung up the phone, but he left behind a baffling remark. This left Wang Ping completely bewildered. Listening to the dial tone, he didn't hang up the phone for a long time. Why did Secretary Ding say that? Why would he envy me? I'm just a deputy secretary of a small county, merely a deputy county-level cadre. But Secretary Ding is a full department-level cadre. Why would he envy me? I know, he must envy me because I'm old and will be retiring in about 10 years. Being free from official duties is perhaps something to envy. Thinking this, Wang Ping gave a self-mocking smile and put down the phone in his hand. It was past 4 o'clock. Having been woken up by the call, Wang Ping found it impossible to fall back asleep, so he simply got up to wash. He prepared to greet the new day's work with full energy. Bang, bang, bang. A rapid knocking sound rang out. "Secretary Wang, Secretary Wang." Coming. Wang Ping put down the towel in his hand, quickly walked to the door, and opened the latch. "Is there an emergency?" The person was the duty comrade from the office, and he nodded. "Secretary Wang, the agricultural machinery factory has exploded." "Well, what? The agricultural machinery factory exploded?" "Yes." The call came from Anyang, saying that 3 agricultural machinery factories in our prefecture were all destroyed by enemy agents. "It's over." Huh? Wait a minute. I don't think I heard any explosion. You couldn't have gotten it wrong, could you? Wang Ping had just washed his face with cold water, so his thoughts were relatively clear. Secretary Wang, our Anping County Agricultural Machinery Factory is fine. It's the others. Oh, I'm telling you, comrade. Can you please stop pausing like that when you speak? Wang Ping's heart, which had leaped in his throat, could finally settle back down. I thought our Anping County Agricultural Machinery Factory had also been bombed. But wow, these enemy agents are truly malicious, destroying 3 of our agricultural machinery factories in succession. Yes, Secretary Wang is right to criticize. I didn't express myself clearly just now. MHM, I know about this matter now. You can go back to work. After that comrade left, Wang Ping suddenly stopped moving. He finally understood what Secretary Ding's remark truly meant. The agricultural machinery factories in 3 locations were bombed at the same time. Only the Anping County Agricultural Machinery Factory was still intact, not destroyed by enemy agents. Why was the Anping County Agricultural Machinery Factory spared? This was all thanks to Comrade Zhang Xiaolong of the Police Bureau. Just now, when Secretary Ding was asking questions, upon hearing him mention Zhang Xiaolong's name, Secretary Ding even specifically interrupted to confirm Comrade Zhang Xiaolong's identity and asked about his specific situation and the various merits he had earned. Old Wang, you're neither sleeping nor working. What are you standing here giggling about? His wife was also woken up. When she got up to wash, she saw her husband wearing a silly grin and couldn't help but ask, Secretary Ding envies me. Oh, cut it out. You must still be dreaming. Secretary Ding is such a high-ranking official. How could he envy you? In terms of official rank, I certainly can't compare to Secretary Ding, but I have a good subordinate. Isn't your good subordinate also Secretary Ding's good subordinate? That's different. Zhang Xiaolong of our County Police Bureau. Wang Ping animatedly recounted the whole story to his wife. Finally, he didn't forget to ask, do you think Secretary Ding envies me? Does that even need saying? This comrade Zhang Xiaolong is truly remarkable. He caught the enemy agents in advance. He saved our agricultural machinery factory. I think your county committee should reward him, shouldn't you? You can't let his efforts go unappreciated. Do I need you to remind me? We will naturally hold a meeting to discuss it. Anyang Prefecture Police Bureau. The phone in the director's office was ringing off the hook, with calls inquiring about the specific situation and criticizing the police bureau for serious dereliction of duty. Li Weiman was not in the bureau, and neither were the political commissar nor the other deputy directors. It was estimated that they must all be rushing to the front line right now. The duty police officer answering the phone received a barrage of reprimands. He was ordered to find Li Weiman and the other police bureau leaders within half an hour, instructing them to immediately report to the prefectural committee after handling their duties. Inside the pagoda space, Zhang Xiaolong looked at the raging flames in the distance, his heart filled with boundless indignation. These damned enemy agents are simply insane. The places they bombed must have been extremely important, right? Otherwise, the enemy agents wouldn't use so much explosive and risk destruction. Should I go out now, kick down that door, and capture the enemy agent inside? Otherwise, this guy would already be a dead man. Because all I need is to have a contact. I don't care if he's dead or alive. Once my beast pets have caught his scent, they can lead me to the enemy's hidden nest in the dark. Regardless of whether this person just arrived from the Anyang region, he must have a secure nest. Therefore, the scent he left on the way here definitely hasn't been there for more than a day. Gurgle. Zhang Xiaolong's stomach let out an ill-timed sound of protest. Chapter 424. The Power of Wild Ginseng Nourished by Spiritual Qi Pond Water. Zhang Xiaolong weighed the pros and cons in his mind. Entering the house to capture the enemy agents wasn't difficult. The hard part was whether he could take them alive. Suddenly, a series of dense footsteps came from outside the space. A few minutes later, 9 figures scaled the wall and arrived outside the bungalow, knocking on the door in a rhythmic pattern. The door to the bungalow opened quickly. Neither side spoke as the 9 people filed in one after another, and the door closed once more. Inside the space, Zhang Xiaolong stared intently at the bungalow, his eyes nearly spitting fire with rage. Well then, by a stroke of luck, he had followed the route of that enemy agent liaison and actually found this hidden nest. It seemed now that the liaison's purpose in going to Omping County was to wait for the operation to succeed, then lead the enemy agents lurking in Omping County here to hide out until the heat died down. This entire area was filled with bungalows. It was likely a residential district. When the sound of the explosion rang out earlier, some people had opened their doors or windows to look for a while. But none of them left their homes. Going out to watch the commotion at a time like this was a sure way to invite trouble, and they might even be taken back to the bureau by the police for questioning. Zhang Xiaolong had seen earlier that the bungalow where the enemy agents were located was tucked away in a remote corner, right against the back wall. Therefore, no one would pay any attention to this place. Wait, that's not right. The police bureau has police dogs. Aren't they afraid the smell of gunpowder on them will expose their movements? This doubt suddenly flashed through Zhang Xiaolong's mind, but he quickly figured out the logic behind it. I see. After the explosion, the air everywhere is filled with the smell of gunpowder. This is different from the time at the Omping County train station. The explosive packs have already detonated, so there's no physical evidence left to provide a scent for the police dogs. Furthermore, because of the shock waves from the explosion and the high temperatures and heat waves from the fire, any body odor left by the enemy agents has long since been completely destroyed. These people definitely won't leave for a short while. Instead, they'll stay here and wait for the heat to pass. Because even though the situation in the city looks a bit chaotic right now, the police will surely act quickly and set up checkpoints at the major exits of the city. So, even if they wanted to leave, they couldn't. Zhang Xiaolong's mind rapidly considered every possibility and whether he should act right now. If I go out now, kick open the door, and capture them all, how would the comrades from the Anyang Prefecture Police Bureau react? I don't know about the other comrades, but the likes of Xiao Shuifei would very likely pin the blame for the Anyang City explosion on me. Since you knew the enemy agents would flee here, why didn't you step in and catch them sooner? If you had caught them earlier, would the explosion in Anyang have even happened? The more Zhang Xiaolong thought about it, the more he felt this would be the outcome. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. If it hadn't been for his previous encounter with Xiao Shuifei, where he learned that the man was someone without any bottom line, he might have acted right now. In that case, the outcome would be unpredictable. Therefore, one must never act solely on hot-blooded impulse. One must always think thrice before acting. Thinking of this, Zhang Xiaolong was no longer in a hurry. Xiao Hui, I'm leaving this to you and the others. Keep a firm eye on this house. If anyone comes or goes, remember to tell me. Woof woof. With a single thought from their master, Xiao Hui and the group of wolf pets were released from the wolf pen. They sat to one side, their eyes fixed unblinkingly on the door of the bungalow. Over the past 2 days, Zhang Xiaolong had barely closed his eyes. Mentally, he felt he should get some sleep. It would be good for his body. Under the spiritual energy waterfall, he enjoyed a massage from the spiritual energy waterfall water, feeling his whole body become relaxed and comfortable. Oh, I almost forgot. Don't I have enough time now? It's time to test the medicinal properties of the wild ginseng. With a thought, a stalk of wild ginseng that had been nourished entirely by 100% spiritual chi pond water appeared in his hand. Good heavens, this wild ginseng is also 120 years old, but it's clearly much larger than ordinary wild ginseng. I estimate it's at least twice as big, and it looks even more like a human shape. The medicinal effect certainly won't be lacking. I have to be careful and not eat too much in one go. Zhang Xiaolong talked to himself as he washed the wild ginseng with spiritual energy waterfall water. Then, like eating a radish, he took a small bite and began to chew. Whoa, it has a melt-in-your-mouth feeling. He suddenly stopped. The wild ginseng had just entered his stomach when he felt a surge of heat suddenly rise from his dantian. Then, this heat flow was like a dragon-shaped object, wandering all around his body along his meridians. In an instant, there was a sharp sensation of pain and burning throughout his entire body. Zhang Xiaolong didn't dare to be careless. He sat down entirely under the waterfall, letting the water pound against his body. He already had experience with this kind of thing. After all, when he ate so many 5J goji berries, The internal pain had been neutralized by the waterfall. Sure enough, the moment Zhang Xiaolong sat under the waterfall, the water falling from dozens of meters high smashed against his body, effectively counteracting the immense pressure and pain inside him. Half an hour later, Zhang Xiaolong felt the pain inside his body completely vanish. My goodness, just one small bite of wild ginseng could be this powerful. Luckily, I had the foresight to only eat a little. Otherwise, I might have exploded and died. Zhang Xiaolong left the waterfall, haphazardly threw on a pair of shorts, and walked to the shore. My strength, it seems to have increased a bit. My body's flexibility also seems to have improved a little. My explosive power has also been enhanced. My speed is a bit faster too. He clearly felt that he had changed. It was as if there was inexhaustible strength within his body. This was just one small bite of wild ginseng. I can't let the rest go to waste. Besides, I have to try and see if I'll become even stronger after eating the whole wild ginseng. So, he took another bite of the wild ginseng, this time a larger one than before. Good heavens, here it comes again. He didn't even bother to take off his shorts, jumping under the waterfall with a quick flash of movement. The sky gradually began to brighten. However, the massive fire in the direction of the agricultural machinery factory continued to burn. Police, soldiers, workers, and the people who had arrived one after another to help fight the fire looked at the raging inferno, powerless to do anything. In the height of a summer with a continuous drought, even the water people drank had to rely on well water or water carried from the distant river. Where could they possibly find enough water to extinguish such a massive fire? Furthermore, the fire caused by the explosion was simply too large. It was definitely not something that could be put out by human effort alone. The crowd, who had been busy for half the night, had done their best to fight the fire, but it was to no avail. They could only watch the intensely burning flames from a distance. Chapter 420. I know why the black bear came here. What on earth is that? The enemy agent stopped instantly, his legs trembling slightly. His right hand quickly moved to his waist, looking as if he was about to draw a gun. Zhang Xiaolong sneered. A pistol appeared in his hand. With just a thought, he could instantly flash out of the space and shoot the enemy agent in front of him. Go ahead and draw your gun. Why did you stop? And here I thought you were really brave. Turns out you're just as afraid of death as anyone else. Zhang Xiaolong knew perfectly well why the enemy agent had suddenly stopped. The enemy agent must also understand that as soon as a gunshot rang out, it would surely attract the police. At that point, he likely wouldn't be able to escape. In normal times, the enemy agent might not be afraid. If he fired a shot in the middle of the night, he would have plenty of time to flee the scene before the police could react. But things were different now. The operation at the agricultural machinery factory hadn't gone as scheduled. And since he hadn't received any information about a delay, what did that mean? The police were definitely lying in ambush near the agricultural machinery factory. The moment he dared to fire, a large number of police officers would swarm toward him. Right now, he could still distinguish which was more important. Looking at the pairs of glowing green eyes ahead, the enemy agent quickly retreated backward. Zhang Xiaolong didn't have the wolf pets pressed too hard. He had to consider the safety of his beast pets. Because while the enemy agent didn't dare to fire now, it didn't mean he definitely wouldn't. If his wolf pets backed the enemy agent into a dead end, the man would surely fight for his life. The enemy agent retreated slowly, just as he had backed away a certain distance and wanted to turn and run at full speed. Those glowing green eyes began to chase after him closely. The enemy agent had no choice but to abandon the idea of turning to sprint and continued his backward retreat. Inside the space. You want to turn and run? How could I let that happen? How else would I strike from behind? Zhang Xiaolong held his pistol by the barrel, ready to use the grip to knock the enemy agent out from behind at any moment. Beads of sweat soon broke out on the enemy agent's forehead. He had already realized what was blocking his path. It was the eyes of a pack of wolves. The wolf pack was quite clever, maintaining their distance without rushing or slowing down. Whenever he tried to turn, the wolf pack would speed up their pursuit, forcing him to keep retreating. Damn it! Why is my luck so bad today? Of all things, I had to run into a wolf pack. This is truly haunting. I've been here many times and never heard of there being wolves here. The enemy agent wiped the sweat from his forehead and muttered a complaint. Just then, a gust of wind came from behind his head. Not good, there's. Thud. After a muffled sound, the enemy agent, who had just reacted and was turning around, was knocked unconscious by the pistol grip. Zhang Xiaolong took out the triangular bayonet, skillfully pried open the enemy agent's mouth, and removed the poison hidden inside. Then he used the enemy agent's own belt to tie him up. While the enemy agent was unconscious, Zhang Xiaolong let the beast pets come over to sniff the man's scent. He didn't put the beast pets back into the space, instead letting them stay out to prevent any others from escaping through the net. Half an hour later, Zhang Xiaolong returned to the thatched hut, carrying the enemy agent in one hand. Good heavens, Xiaolong, you really caught another enemy agent. Lu Juanzhong immediately came forward and asked excitedly, Brother Lu, this guy was very cunning. I caught him by the river. At the time, I was just looking around with the mindset of taking a casual stroll. Who knew my luck would be so good that I'd actually run into this guy? I don't know if this enemy agent is stupid or what, but he was actually walking backward, so I managed to sneak up and get him from behind. Before Zhang Xiaolong could even finish his sentence, the enemy agent took offense. Having been carried all this way by Zhang Xiaolong, he had long since been shaken awake. He had just been holding his breath and staying silent. But now that his intelligence was being questioned, how could he possibly hold back? Who are you calling stupid? Do you even know what I ran into? Ouch. Xiaolong, look at him. He's clearly not convinced. Lu Xiangdong had been under a lot of pressure. He had accepted Zhang Xiaolong's suggestion, but if the 500 pounds of high explosives were detonated and no enemy agent was found in the end, then the whole affair would be a disgrace, and pressure from all sides would likely come one after another. The Anping County Police Bureau would probably have to take responsibility. But now it was fine. Zhang Xiaolong had caught the enemy agent, and all the pressure vanished. Lu Xiangdong spoke much more easily now, even with a hint of teasing. Hee, what did you run into? In the middle of the night. What else could you run into? Did you see a ghost? Zhang Xiaolong wouldn't take the initiative to mention the wolf pack. He had to pretend he knew nothing about it. Some things would be much more convincing if they came out of the enemy agent's own mouth. I didn't see a ghost, but I ran into a wolf pack. There were at least 15 or 20 wolves. The enemy agent was still somewhat indignant. You can laugh at my bad luck, and you can laugh at my poor ability, but you absolutely cannot laugh at me for being brainless or a fool. Otherwise, how could I be worthy of my status as an infiltrator? Over 20 wolves. Zhang Xiaolong had thought he would say there were wolves, but he hadn't expected him to say there were so many. True, I did release all the wolf pets, but only 4 or 5 wolves were blocking your path, okay? The other wolf pets were spread out in other directions. Lu Xiangdong and Lu Juanzhong looked at each other. They didn't know the specific details, but they truly believed in the existence of the wolf pack. Last night, they had clearly heard the sound of wolf howls. They just hadn't seen them with their own eyes. That's right, over 20 wolves. I only got caught by your sneak attack because my path was blocked by the wolf pack. Otherwise, would you have been able to catch me? The enemy agent spoke plausibly, insisting there were over 20 wolves. Zhang Xiaolong really wanted to double over and laugh, but he held it in, seeing that Director Lu and the others seemed convinced. He wasn't going to argue the point. It was a wolf pack anyway. Whether there were a few more or less didn't change the fact that there were wolves nearby. This could also explain why a black bear had suddenly appeared in the village. After all, with the current food shortage, it was normal for wild beasts to come down the mountain to forage. I finally know why the black bear came here. Lu Juanzhong suddenly said with an excited expression. Zhang Xiaolong was slightly stunned and thought to himself, no way. Brother Lu, I was just thinking that to myself. Do you feel the same way? Brother Lu, why is that? Xiaolong, think about it. Under normal circumstances, black bears act alone. Lu Juanzhong was beaming as he spoke eloquently about what was on his mind.